Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Fright Club, where we will discuss the world of horror movies. Some creepy, some scary, some terrifying, and some absolutely awful. First rule of The Fright Club is talk about The Fright Club. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Fright Club. I'm your host, Colin. So I'm just going to get right down to the nitty-gritty of it all. We're going to sit here and talk about some movies I'm very excited to talk about. Also, I wanted to let you guys know, for those who watched the first video, this is like near and dear to me right now, so I wanted to let you guys know that I am actually not that fat. The green screen adds about a good 15 to 100 pounds, so you have to be very wary. So I'm just letting you guys know that right now. I'm actually super thin. So we're gonna get right down into it with movies. I hope you're excited. I'm excited. As you can tell, I've had a lot of coffee today. So the first movie that I am actually going to talk about is it's a movie called Plus One. Some of you may have already heard of this movie. It got a lot of great things at Sundance and all of that. Right now, you can actually stream it on the... What freaking channel is this? Hold on one sec. You can actually stream it on Shudder. I don't know why my mind blanked on that, but it did, so you're welcome. So the movie is called Plus One. It's about three friends who have to figure out a supernatural mystery why they party at the party of the year. And I have to tell you, you have to pay attention in this movie, because it's interesting, it's gripping, it's actually pretty freaky. And it makes the butterfly effect seem real. What actually happens in this movie is that a meteor passes by, and the meteor ends up doubling everything to kind of what they call a time lag. So what happens starts repeating itself about 15 minutes prior. And so everyone starts seeing themselves do what they just did. And then as the movie progresses, then the time lag keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And it catches up with itself, and it was awesome. It was funny at first, but then it was also kind of terrifying. And there's a huge message in this movie. I have no idea what it is, but there's a huge message, and I have actually been doing a little bit of research, and I wonder, it does this amazing job at showing narcissism at its complete finest. If you thought that you looked in the mirror at yourself long enough and thought, damn, I look good, this movie is for you, because it expresses that. The overall message of the film is actually pretty cloudy, but it makes you wonder, is there one to begin with? Or is there an overriding misogyny to the entire film? This movie makes you think, so I highly recommend it. Get out there, watch it. You can get it on the Shudder channel, which is attached to your Amazon. So I'm giving this movie a giant 5 reels, because it took my breath away about how really well done it was. And if you find a message in the movie, let me know. I would love to have that talk with you. Alright, so moving on to the next film that I would like to discuss with all of you right now. This is a movie that you actually find on Amazon Prime, and it is called I Didn't Come Here to Die. Pretty nifty title, if I say so myself. I have a confession. I watched this movie years ago, and I remember that I liked it, so I was like, I need to watch it again. This is something that has a huge underground following for this movie, and you're probably going to hate me. Those of you who really follow this movie underground, you're just going to be like, but it's cool. Don't worry about it. This movie really hit the middle of the pack for me. So it's basically about 6 volunteers who meet untimely deaths while working on a humanitarian project in the woods. Yeah, so it's actually a pretty decent film. It's grainy, it's grindhousey, and if you enjoy that kind of look to your movies, then you're really going to like this movie. They kind of made it look very 70s stock, which it works. It was okay. I think the only things that personally bothered me in this movie was that they used what's called a blue lens for their night scenes and a yellow lens for their day scenes. So, for example, at night they put a blue lens on the camera, so it was incredibly difficult to actually see the characters when they're having, these kind of talks about themselves and trying to get to know one another. And then during the day, they put a yellow lens on, and it kind of made it look like the Sahara Desert, so they made it look extremely hot. I wasn't sure if that was the effect that they wanted. It actually kind of made me a little uncomfortable. Also, the one thing that I did not like about this movie, I'm not sure if it was a director choice, but there was extremely uncomfortable close-ups. Every single time a character had some sort of solo line, it was like this. Yes, I know. I went to the woods just like... I don't know what you're doing. I felt like I could actually smell their breath every time the camera zoomed in on their face. I was uncomfortable because there's a lot of people who have solo lines, and the camera's right there. It's right there on their face. So I wasn't sure if that was some sort of odd director choice, but it did not work for me. It's one of those movies that's a domino effect movie. So one thing ends up happening that kind of correlates to what happens for the rest of the movie. Unfortunately, they are stock characters. You do have a jock. You do have a nerdy girl. You do have kind of a slutty cheerleader type character. They're very stocky characters. So there was very little depth to these characters. So you kind of didn't really care what was happening to all of them because they did not get written that well. But I have to say the death scenes were a lot of fun. That was something that I actually really enjoyed about this movie, was kind of the quirkiness of what happens. Because in this entire movie, you're not sure if these are accidents, if they are, is there something paranormal in the woods that is physically happening, or is there some sort of curse on these woods? You don't really know the entire movie. Unfortunately, it is a slow burn. I am going to go ahead and give it that. It's an incredibly slow burn, but it's not what you think. You actually have to watch the entire film to really understand it. So, after saying all of that about this movie, and please don't, write me, really angry emails and anything on your, I didn't come here to die post-it notes or whatever it was. I'm going to give this movie a C. In my mind, that's like a 3-star rating, or 3 reels. I'm giving this 3 reel rating, because it was just... It was a slow burn, and I wasn't a huge fan of the choices the director physically made. And plus, the writing was, unfortunately, blah. So, I'm going to give that one 3. Alright, so we are on to our third film, which is, if those of you who are fans of the show, you kind of know, usually the third one is the one that's kind of like, Argh. So, congratulations for making it this far. The movie that I have chosen as not a very good one, you can actually find it on your Shudder channel. It's called Altitude. So it's about a rookie pilot who must battle paranormal forces in the sky. Dun dun dun! It sounds really interesting, and this movie itself, unfortunately, what they tried to do is it kind of came out in the time that the new cast of the 90210 was out. And you had all these young Hollywood actors who were in these Fox TV shows come together and try to make a horror movie. So the casting was actually really cool. That really did not bother me. And the movie's very claustrophobic. Which I think was the point of the film, but the fact that the movie was only an hour and 25 minutes, the claustrophobia of the film made it feel like 3 hours long. The characters were yelling at each other constantly, so you couldn't really understand what was happening because all they did was scream at each other the entire time, like, "Hi, Cindy, what are you doing?" And I just, I got, jittery, every time, because they're yelling at each other, and I'm like, why are we screaming at each other constantly? The movie definitely feels longer than what it is. In my opinion, it's the definition of overacting. What I think about this movie is that I actually think this movie would have been really cool if it was done with adults. Because the plot itself is actually really cool. Once you find out what this paranormal presence is that's happening and why these kids are getting killed off, a la plane, in a little jet plane, it's actually really cool, and it kind of goes back to like kind of a Back to the Future type vibe. So I thought that was really cool, but because these are teenagers, or in Hollywood, it's like 25-year-old actors acting like 15-year-olds. That's what made it completely unbearable for me. Now, maybe if I was a 15-year-old, I would have liked this movie and I would have been gripping with it, but I wasn't. Like I said, all they did was yell at each other. I think this is the perfect movie to sit down with friends, have some popcorn, and yell at each other. Because you're probably going to yell so much cooler than you would in this movie. I don't know. Maybe if I put myself in a situation where I'm stuck in a tiny little jet with 4 seats and 8 kids and all of my crap in there as well, and there's some sort of phantom thing outside flying with it. I don't know. I just don't see myself in that kind of situation to be enough to want to yell at everyone a lot. If this movie was done with adults, it would have been so much better. I think this could have gone. It was very, very Langoliers. Which I hope those of you get that reference. Stephen King reference, because my producer was just kind of huh?
No, I really like that one.
Oh, okay, so he likes it. Okay, never mind. See, that's what I get side-eye.
She's the one that didn't know what it was.
Oh, my other producer didn't. Okay, it's Steve. Okay, so those of you who don't know what The Langoliers is, it's a Stephen King book that was made into a made-for-TV movie. And it had my... Anyway, so I give this movie a 1 real rating. I mean, it was something else. I recommend going out and seeing it immediately to make fun of it. So, yeah. Alright, guys, so that is it. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here in the Fright Club. You can also find us at our Facebook link that is going to be down here in the section below my fingers. What is that called?
Description.
In the description. Yeah, I'm just, woo! It's going to be found in the description. Also, there's a link to our Twitter, so find us out there, follow us. And then also, I want to give a huge shout out to Giggles the Clown. Now, I'm not being sponsored by any of the people that I give a shout out to, just so you guys know. I'm just a really big fan of their channel. Giggles the Clown is a wonderful, terrifying clown who goes to all these haunted houses, and she tries all these really cool things that her fans send to her, and I really enjoy watching her videos. So if you guys really enjoy my channel and you enjoy horror movies as much as I do, go check out Giggles the Clown. You'll get a laugh for sure. So my name's Colin, and thank you guys for joining me again at the Fright Club. Oh, and always remember the first rule of Fright Club. Talk about the Fright Club.